time for Motovation Supersport. Here,
It's time for the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. This weekend is MotoAmerica Superbikes at Virginia from VIR, also known as Virginia International Raceway. It's our sixth round of 9 for 2025 for Motovation Supersport, as we have race 1 on deck. We've had our practices and our qualifiers on a very mixed bag over the weekend in terms of weather, but now here we are, and it looks pretty dry. Welcome to the broadcast booth. I'm Greg White, sitting alongside two-time national champ Jason Pridmore. Now, Jason, so far this season, we've kind of had a continuation of the way it was last season, with two riders out front, of course, being Matthew Skoltz and P.J. Jacobsen. But right now, our attention turns to Blake Davis, because the 22 has been on a tear as of late.
He has been on a real tear, and we always say to ourselves when we see people dominating a championship, who is going to step up? Well, this young man has, Greg. He is the teammate of Matthew Skoltz, and you can see here, he had a very magical weekend at Laguna Seca. He's third in your shot on this particular screen here on turn 5, but he would make all kinds of moves. You see down into turn 11 from PJ, and at that point, Greg, it looked like PJ was going to fire back. He did. Made a small mistake down here into turn 2. You see Blake turn it back up underneath him, and from that point on, Blake just put his head down, started to open a gap, and you can see Matthew Skoltz was able to also get through on PJ for second. In race 2, Blake just came right back the second day after a big win on Saturday. He would again be following P.J. Jacobsen, Greg, as they go off the line here for race number 2. You're going to see him make a move here around the outside of turn 11 that is amazing. He was able to just keep his corner speed up, and again, he decided to just race at the front. Cam Peterson threw his hat into the ring during this race as well. Him and Matthew Skoltz would go back and forth, but Blake Davis on that 22 Strack Racing R9 Yamaha does the double at Laguna, comes into here with some momentum.
So Blake Davis on a roll right now, but where is he in the points? Well, since his last 5 races, he scored 104 points, so that's 5 better than Skoltz, and you can see that PJ's only scored 85. 85 is a great haul, but also 3 wins, 4 podiums for Blake Davis. But this championship is in the middle part of the season, and it is hot as you like it. But the rider who everybody's looking at is P.J. Jacobsen, and he's now with the third member of our broadcast team, Jamie Howe.
Greg, P.J. Jacobsen has been in control of this Supersport Championship since the second race of the season, but over the last few weekends, his lead that once stood at 20 points is now down to just 3 points between himself and Matthew Skoltz. P.J. going into the race today knowing that Matthew is quicker. He also has Blake Davis right in between the two of you. How do you approach this one?
Yeah, I'm just going to focus on my own race and see what happens in the race. I just want to thank my team for the hard work they always do and try to get them another good result today.
What music you listen to get yourself ready?
It depends the mood. I'm not going to say.
Not going to say. Keeping all the secrets close. We're going to keep moving down the grid. You see his team manager, Ben Spees, there now holding the umbrella for him, but he's also a 2-time Superbike winner here at VIR. He also owns the track record here at VIR and Superbike. But I want to talk to this rider, Josh Hayes. He's been winning races here at this track since some of these competitors were in diapers. 12 total races for you, victories. You've out-qualified a lot of them today. What do you take into the race?
Man, VIR's been pretty good to me for a long time, and I'm happy that we're here racing again. I always enjoy coming here, and we're a little limited on laps. We've had our challenges this weekend, but we're in a pretty good spot for qualifying, and I'm looking forward to the race. I think we're making some progress on the BPR R9, and I know how good the bike is because I'm watching the guys at the front win on it. So this is a good track for me to kind of acclimate and learn a little more about the bike and hopefully find my way closer to the front.
Been his best qualifying position in the last 4 rounds. We'll see what he can do, Greg.
Yeah, and of course, the brand new motorcycle for this season, the Yamaha YZF R9. And if there's a guy who's going to figure it out in the race, especially at this place, it's him, because VIR should be called Hayes IR.
It's a good spot, Greg. Turn 1's going to be tricky when you have so many bikes coming from a lot of speed down into turn 1. Got to get sorted before you head down to turn 7. That's another great passing opportunity. You go up a ridge all the way across. Another good passing spot is turn 14, a very tricky off-camber turn that goes downhill. You go up a gear down into turn 16 and 17 for a fast run onto that front straightaway.
And we have 18 laps scheduled in this one. And boy, Virginia International Raceway can give us all kinds of stuff, including a lot of mayhem. But this guy right here, Cameron Peterson, 3 podium finishes in the last 5 races. He is wicked fast. He's looking for a race win today.
Motovation Supersport is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. By NXT Bets, play MotoAmerica for cash. Multiple race classes live on top sports books and DFS platforms all season long. And by Motovation, the most trusted online resource for premium motorcycle parts and accessories delivered right to your door. Find your motivation at motivationusa.com.
Supersport grid just getting ready for their 18 laps of action. And Rog, let's look at the second row of the grid. Cam Peterson, Ty Scott, and Josh Hayes. Let's talk about Cam P from the outset.
The big thing for Cam is he had the pace at the last race at Laguna, but just the first lap he lost too many spots, and he can't afford to do that this weekend. He does have the pace to go with the leaders and at least challenge for the podium, but probably also the win. So that for him on that second row, it's just going to be about getting a really good start and putting himself in the right spot, heading down into turn 2 where he comes out going into turn 3, and he's got the leaders right there in front of him.
3 podiums this season, obviously, and for Peterson, last time out, we were able to see that second place finish at Laguna. So, like you said, Rog needs that fast start. What about Ty Scott in the middle of that second row of the grid as well? We didn't see that big improvement in this morning's qualifying session compared to what would have been expected from him.
Yeah, but he's just kind of steadily closed that gap. He still has a little bit to go, though, and so the team, hopefully, you can see the concentration on his face, made a big step from the qualifier this morning going into this race, because there's a couple tenths that, he's behind on the top 4 guys.
Let's take it back then as well for the riders at this stage. And Matthew Skoltz on that pole position. Blake Davis second on the grid, and PJ Jacobson there as well. And Roger able to see just the facility that we have here at VIR, and good crowd here again. And it really is a very unique setting.
Yeah, it's just great to see. It's always been a great track with fans, and it's just great to see so many out here this weekend. All the races this year at MotoAmerica, the crowds have been great, so it's great to see everybody out here, and the riders have all mentioned it as well. They love riding around this track and seeing all the spectators.
Yeah, hopefully the sun comes out fairly soon for the fans that are lining the track. But more than anything else, the Supersport riders are getting ready for the start of their race. And the first race of the weekend for the Motovation Supersport class is going to be an 18-lap race with Matthew Skoltz leading us away from pole position.
Welcome back to Virginia International Raceway. Motovation Supersport race number 1 on deck. And by the way, you can play MotoAmerica for cash. The Superbike Baggers and Supersport Series are now live on top sportbooks and DFS platforms. Scan the flow code or visit nxtbets.com/playmA to see what's available in your location. Sign up. Exclusive offers, bonuses. Make your picks now. All right, so go check that out. Warm-up lap, 18 laps scheduled in this race. It's been an interesting, bag, Jason, of it was like not supposed to rain. It didn't really rain necessarily, but it was like kind of misty, but maybe a couple drops. And so that is kind of what Josh Hayes was alluding to earlier in his interview, that not a lot of time on this bike in the dry.
Well, he's had some problems too. I saw yesterday in FP1, Greg, about 10 minutes into the session, he was off. So there was a couple little mechanical issues. Supersport, to be honest with you, has had it okay. They had a practice session in the morning yesterday. They had a dry session in qualifying yesterday. This morning when they came in, they had a couple other sessions ahead of them with other classes where they were able to get out. So for this particular class, it hasn't been too bad, but Josh did have a mechanical yesterday as we get a chance to look at the starting grid.
All right, so with Matthew Skoltz, your pole sitter, on the front row you have his teammate Blake Davis and PJ Jacobson, Cameron Peterson, Ty Scott, and Josh Hayes.
Then we're going to go back to row number 3. We see Corey Alexander, Kayla Jakob, Jake Lewis. Good to see Jake back. Joe Lamandra Jr., guys, should be in our series full-time. They're on row 4 next to Max Van and Torrin Collins. I saw them wheeling Aiden Sneed's bike off the grid just now. That's a shame. De Silva, Enriquez, Chase Black, Nassani, and Owen Williams will be on row number 6. Then we have Shane Maggs, DeLeon, Greg Monk, Chopkoff, and Kevin Horney. They're on row 8. A little further back to the last row, we got Zaragoza, Oman, and Jeff Bean. So all in all, Greg, we've got a pretty big field here, 27 riders. Unfortunately, like I said, Aiden didn't look like he's going to take part. I'm sure the crew's working on that thing frantically.
All right, if they get it started, he's got to start from pit lane. Yeah, so he's got a lot of work to do. The MP13 racer on the 98. That's the MV Augusta. Sweet motorcycle to look at. You got to check it out while you're here.
Coming off 2 great finishes at Laguna Seca is Aiden, 7th place in both. So this is a shame, but you know, as a young rider, Greg, he's very young, and he's just got to now go get these laps in, do the best he can. You know, you never know. There could be a red flag. There could be something that allows you to get back up there in this fight.
Motovation Supersport Race number 1 on deck. 18 laps scheduled. A look at our front row as we wait for the lights to turn off as we get rolling. Here we go. A good launch from the front row. Oh, it looked like Ty Scott on the Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki got a tremendous launch from row number 2, the number 70. He works his way into about 4th position. He gets swallowed up around the outside. Goes Peterson. Inside goes Josh Hayes. And we're away racing through turn 1.
It was really Blake Davis that got the jump, but his teammate on the number 1, Matthew Skultz, just let go of that lever. Look at PJ. He wants to go with Matthew Skultz right away. He tried to get by Blake and wasn't able to make it. That allows Cam Peterson through, and look who's 3rd.
Wow, so Josh Hayes, the number 4, right up there in 3rd spot. All the while, 4th and 5th are duking it out corner to corner. But Matthew Skultz, now the South African, has his countryman, the number 45 of Cameron Peterson, right behind him. One of the hottest riders in the field right now is Peterson as he continues to get used to his Ducati Panigale V2.
Let's not forget, Cam Peterson had some real pace at Laguna Seca. He was able to start running some of the leaders down early in these races. But the guy that needed to take the lead and get out front early is Matthew. He's had some real pace this weekend. He's going to try to drag his countryman along. And you can see PJ Jacobson now is on the back of Josh Hayes. He will probably try to draft that R9 down this front straightaway. He sees these 2 bikes in front of him disappearing. For the 15, he's got to get through.
So Strack Racing Yamaha R9 rider Matthew Skultz onto the front straightaway. This is the battle for 3rd. As you're talking about, PJ Jacobson on the number yellow machine. That's the Ray Hall Ducati with Ducati Moto X Spell machine. He gets around Hayes and down into turn 1 they go. And at the same time, Strack Racing's Blake Davis gets around Hayes on the BPR Racing Yamaha.
Yeah, he wanted to try to get through as well. As you see PJ getting bucked up out of the seat really violently there on the exit of turn 2. Not something you're normally going to be used to seeing on the opening laps with brand new tires. But PJ knows in order for him to break away from the guys in the back and catch the guys in the front, he's going to have to get away soon. So this is a very aggressive move and a good move from PJ Jacobson. He just can't get the bike turned. And Blake Davis, you can see he felt the number 15 up underneath him, gave him a little bit of room. But for PJ just trying to get to the front, and nothing malicious there, just trying to make a pass early to go with Matthew. Now PJ, look, he's already closed up the gap. Fastest first split for PJ here, almost 3/10 of a second quicker, 4/10 of a second quicker than the man up in the front.
On the move is PJ Jacobson, and maybe if PJ's able to find a way to get around Cameron Peterson, that he will drag Peterson up with him, and all of a sudden this 1-horse race turns into a 3-horse battle. So onto the front straightaway we go. Skultz goes 29.061 first time by. And now as they come across start-finish line, it is going to be a 26.62 for the number 1.
How about that?
PJ Jacobson, 26.0.
Wow, that is fast, Greg. 26 flat, second lap of the race. That was with even getting a little bit loose out of this corner right here. So for PJ Jacobson, he's trying to close this gap down. And what you'll generally see is a lot of aggression out of guys the first 3 or 4 laps. Look at this battle back here for 6. We're looking at Ty Scott and Kayla Jakob. That's Joe Lamondre Jr. there. What a job from him. As you see, Joe, it's our first time really seeing him this year. Corey Alexander's in behind him. And then just behind him is Jake Lewis. So this is a big battle right now for 6th place. Jamie.
You mentioned Tyler Scott being right there in the thick of it, leading this battle. And I talked to him just before he put his helmet on. He said really his goal for the race was to try and stay on the back end, as we've had a rider go down now, and trying to stay on the back end of that front group, because he felt like he has the pace, but he's physically struggling, and he just didn't want to let him get away too early. So having that gaggle there with him, that may or may not help him, but you can see that gap starting to widen.
Yeah, and when you look right now, the guys behind Matthew, Cameron Peterson that time was 2/10 quicker in the first split, loses a 10th in the second. Cam's trying to run a really good lap. This will be his best lap. Greg. And for PJ now will notice that they're not getting away from him quite as quickly, and he's done a good job closing this gap down.
All right, so they come across the line now, and the last time by, PJ went 26.094. This time, 26.5. Just want to make a quick note, Jason, that since 2018 here at VIR, JD Beach has had the fastest lap record at a 126.206. So that 126.0, the fastest ever around Virginia International Raceway on a Supersport machine by PJ Jacobsen. Incredibly fast. However, he's got to turn that lap time into positions. He's got to put himself ahead of his two rivals up front of Scholz and Peterson if he's going to continue to grow his lead in this championship, because live results would have it right now that he would lose the lead at the mid part of the season here in Motovation Supersport.
PJ's a lot of fun to watch ride a motorcycle, Greg. He's got so much great bike handling skills. The bike will be moving around him all the time, doesn't even phase him. There was a couple shots our camera guys got yesterday that were really impressive, especially coming out of this turn. This is a place where as the race goes on, tires on the right side get a little bit warm, bikes get really loose, but the throttle control and the way that PJ's able to hang that Ducati out at times is really fun to watch, as he's now back on the back of Cam Peterson. 26.7, 26.4 that time between Scholz and Cam Peterson, and again 26.5 from PJ. So the pace at the front will start to settle, looks like, Greg, in and around that mid to high 26s. Let's see what Matthew does this time through. He had 0.7 of a second last lap, 0.8 this time, and we're in those mid 26s.
So Cameron Peterson still holding off his Ducati teammate. So the Celtic Economy Lube Plus Tire, Warhorse HSBK Ducati. Now Blake Davis, 26.8 for the number 22, his fastest personal lap of the race, but still not faster than the three riders in front of him. So for Blake Davis, he's still trying to find some speed in the early laps of Motovation Supersport Race number 1. So Scholz with just under a second gap to Peterson and PJ Jacobsen. Jacobsen seems okay. We have seen this, Jay, before in Motovation Supersport, where you have those first 4 or 5 laps be completely hectic, fast times. Then once everybody kind of settles into their pace, it's going to be like this until we get to the last 5 laps. Save your tire a little bit, maybe, save some energy, and then make a huge push.
Yeah, and right now, my biggest curiosity point is the 22 of Blake Davis. He's fallen quite a bit ways behind, 2.7 seconds. He ran his personal best on the last lap, 26.8, so he is also in the 26s. So for right now, this guy here, Blake Davis, he's going to keep chomping away. 14 laps to go. Jamie.
Cameron Peterson sitting in second place. That's not surprising. We're used to seeing him up there going for podium positions, but this one comes on after having a great start to the race. His last couple of them, he had to fight his way through the pack. Even just at the last race, he went from 14th after a bad start all the way up to the podium result. So for him, he's going to now have the tire at the end of the race to actually fight with, which is what he felt like he had been lacking to be able to go ultimately for race wins. So we'll see what happens in the second half of this race, because he has a lot of confidence and a lot of speed.
And unfortunately, he had a lot of racetrack in that last corner, and PJ almost got up the inside of him, but it looked like Cameron Peterson had made some groundwork and taken a little bit of time out of Scholz when he went into turn number 1. Scholz was less than 1/10 of a second faster on the actual full lap last time by, with 12 and a half laps to go in Motovation Supersport. But Scholz in control, 26.4 his best time, last time 26.5. So each of these riders, Jay, are within 0.2 of a second of their best time.
Well, they got it under a second that last time by, but this time it looks like he started to pull it out. He's pulled 0.3 out in that first split on the 2 chasing riders behind him. These Ducatis are doing everything they can to run the pace of that R9 with Matthew Scholz aboard it. But the thing is right now, 26.5, another 0.3. So he's opened up 0.6 of a second on this lap. PJ's going to have to try to do something here with Cam Peterson soon. I feel like that's coming, as you see, Greg, a red split there in sector 2. That's what's equated to 0.6 of a second. Matthew's going to go 26.2. So 26.2 for Matthew Scholz, 26.8 for the others. So it's 0.6. Number 1 pulls out. PJ still cannot do anything with Cam Peterson. And the other guy now, Greg, 26.7, that is matching these 2 battling for seconds pace is Blake Davis.
And there goes PJ Jacobsen on the 15, starting to, try to find traction. You see the rear end of the motorcycle start to twitch, something we normally see at this stage of the race. We saw it earlier in the first laps, but now PJ trying to get, keep in mind that these Motovation Supersport, these Ducati machines, they don't have traction control like you would see in even stock 1000 or Superbike. All the traction control is basically their right wrists. And so PJ is so good on board that motorcycle. He's always looking for that maximum amount of grip, and sometimes that creates some wheel spin, as all these riders do.
Yeah.
So Scholz, 0.6 on that lap. Now you can see it's up to 1.6 seconds, the gap between him and Cameron Peterson.
And he's pulled out even more this lap, just a 10th. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you start seeing that guy disappearing in front of you, especially if you're PJ Jacobsen right now, he's really got to be thinking, if I want to try to get this win, if I have any pace underneath me whatsoever, I've got to get past the 45, who's riding really well right now, is Cam Peterson. Talked to him this morning, said he feels pretty well, happy enough with things. But, you know, I promise, both these guys are race winners. They want to try to get up in the front and race to win. As they come across the line, PJ looked like he was pulling out to the right side of Cam P. Let's see if he can make it stick. He cannot. So Cam Peterson defends that second position again.
And they lost another half a second to Matthew Scholz, who's now pulled out a 2-second gap. So PJ at this point has just got to go to work on the rider in front of him. Now keep in mind, Jay, is that with PJ Jacobsen having that lead coming in here, first to second is 5 points difference, but first to third, a 9-point difference. And so that would be a bit of a shift in this championship for Matthew Scholz. Your number 1 plate, your defending champion.
PJ has a good run here as well. It's just such a big commitment to make a pass here into turn 7, because it's so easy to make a mistake. As you look at the live championship standings, if the race was to end now, it's 6 points, like you say, Greg, over Matthew Scholz over PJ Jacobsen with Blake and Camp P. This is a big battle behind here with Kayla Yakov leading the way, with Joe Lamondre has got by Ty Scott as well. So what a battle we have here. Kayla Yakov has got Joe Lamondre right behind her, then Ty Scott, Corey Alexander, and that's a fight between about 6 or 7 riders right now trying to get that 6th place.
Bazooka Joe on that Boss Barkarn Racing. That's a YZF R6. So we're looking out front is R9s, and then some riders still choosing to race the R6. Side by side, through the kink, cross start finish line, down into turn number 1.
He had a run, Greg.
He did, but Cam Peterson was so good on the brakes.
Yeah, but when they came past our position here, PJ was almost up alongside Cam. But with the way the kink works there, you see him get a little bit loose. The way the kink works here, if you haven't got that pass committed before you get to the kink, you almost have to just roll out of it, is what PJ had to do. So a timing draft pass when you have a kink in the middle of a straightaway is, you got to be very strategic with how you do it. PJ knows that he can draft Cam. It's just got to happen in the right spot.
So at this point of the race, Scholz just keeps clicking off another half a second per lap. And so Peterson sees his countryman Scholz drifting away on that Strack Racing Yamaha R9. You can see that gap growing. It's 2.5 seconds. And there is Blake Davis. Now for Blake Davis, this last lap, when they came across the stripe, was his first lap that he didn't set his personal best. He did that 3 laps in a row. And what we also know is that in sector number 1, as they're working sector 2 now, Matthew Scholz went his personal best of a 40.2. So this number 1 plate, he just continues to push the issue, and he's just comfortable, just going quicker and quicker with every lap. He doesn't need to. He can sit in manage mode, but he doesn't want to do it. Here he goes. All right, draft and pass now. Side by side, they go through the kink.
You see the kink there, Greg? It just is, he's not quite up alongside enough. He gets a good run. And, you know, Greg, if it was a straightaway, he'd be able to do that no problem. But that kink is there. And, you know, if he gets close enough, did Cam go wide? Cam did. Cam ran wide in the middle of turn 1 down there. So that's going to allow PJ through. That's going to be a break for PJ. Now, we'll keep an eye on these splits to see if the 15 can do anything to chip away at that 3-second lead now. 26.3 to 26.8 for these two behind him. So Matthew opened up another half second. 3 seconds, Greg, seems like an awful lot even with 9 laps to go.
Working his Ray Hall Ducati Moto with Expel. Panigale V2 is PJ Jacobsen, the yellow bike. We'll see if there was anywhere that Cameron Peterson maybe was holding up PJ. Now, good look on the left part of your screen.
You're going to see Cam's going to, there he is. There's Cam, ran a little bit wide. PJ goes underneath. Live shot down on the bottom right-hand side of our shot here. You're going to see PJ's ran a 10th off. He's only a 10th off of Matthew in the first split. The second split just comes through now, and he's about another 10th off. So he's going to run a lap time that's very similar to the leader now, and you can see he's just trying to ever so slightly get away from Cam. Cam will dig back in, I'm sure, try to keep PJ honest throughout the rest of this race. Blake Davis still back there in fourth, 26.8 to a 27.1. So again, another 3/10. Look at Cam P as he goes down the inside to look. You know, Cam, that's a test run for Cam. That's all that was. It looked a lot closer on camera than it probably was. But Peterson, if he gets close enough, Greg, to draft, he knows he might be able to try to stuff it up underneath PJ down there into that turn 2 area.
Yeah, but the problem is for Cameron Peterson too is he's had a couple goes through 1 and 2 where he has run wide, and so he's just got to kind of figure that out on board and make sure that when he does attack that he doesn't fall victim to that same going wide and allow Peterson to get back by. So 26.8. So for Schultz right now, he's settled into a 3.4 margin out front. That's what the gap looks like. You can tell by PJ Jacobson's body language that he is trying. He's, you know, you can see him really working the bike. He's sliding down the hill there, like he's giving it a go, but it just doesn't seem like with the splits that we're seeing that all that effort is creating anything that's going to be significant in this battle with 7.5 laps to go.
It's really where PJ is comfortable. When the bike's moving around up underneath him, you know, we sit there, and I've really learned to watch this guy ride in the sense that he doesn't mind it being a little bit loose underneath him. Now, if you look at the distance between him and Cam right now, you think it's too much. But what happens is the draft, the way it works, if you can be a little bit further back, you can slingshot. See that move there, Greg? He's able to slingshot up alongside PJ. That's timing your draft perfect. Is he in a little bit too deep? That's the question. He is. And that, again, you gain those extra mile an hour. It gets you into that corner a little bit too deep and makes him run a little bit wide.
So no damage there for Cameron Peterson on the 45 and that Celtic Economy Lube and Tire Warhorse HSBK Ducati. He had second for a moment, but just couldn't get it slowed down. And that extra mile an hour you were talking about, JP, pretty incredible. This battle behind is going on between Jakob, Corey Alexander, Jake Lewis. There's Jake Lewis, number 85 in his Yamaha R9, Altus Motorsports. Cannot tell you how good it is to see Jake Lewis back in action.
Yeah.
He is not 100%. I talked to Jake, and I asked about his shoulder, asked about his ribs, asked about his head, an incident that he had in a different class at Laguna, and he said the only thing really bothering him at this point is the ribs, and it's the constantly moving this motorcycle. Oh man! Wow, PJ got in there, some lap traffic and almost disaster, but was able to gather it back up, and those two now safely by the traffic, and their battle will resume.
Scary place to catch traffic, and it's scary for the back markers too there. So as you can see, it didn't separate these two, but it definitely is going to make it to where Matthew's lead of 3.9 seconds will probably have grown as it does to 5.4, 26.3 for the number 1 out front, Greg. That's only a 10th off his best. 5.5 seconds now to this battle. So
again, wide off the track.
Poor Cam, he's been wide there a couple times. That grass is going to be wet. That's going to allow Blake through, and now Cam's going to find himself back in 4th place. So we've seen him run wide 3 laps in a row now, Greg, for Cam. So not sure if that's a braking issue or just getting drawn into the draft
earlier,
a little bit, right?
It started early in the race, and Cam just not able to get the thing slowed down into 1.
So when you're in this position that PJ's in right now, you think, okay, I'm going to go for it. Then you kind of go, I can't go for it. Then you realize that the back marker has slowed down more than you had even anticipated. And so that's what you see.
And a good job by the other rider to get out of the way when PJ went right up the inside. Very difficult position for lap traffic, because if they're involved in their own race and you have the leaders coming through, because Schultz already went through, but a good save from Cameron Peterson. So there is that number 16 we were talking about earlier.
And now he's just got to charge back. He's going to have Blake Davis not that far up the road. You can see there's Blake right there as he starts breaking down into this turn 12 spot, and you're going to see Cam P. He's got 6 laps still. Cam Peterson's still right there. He can still go and chase down that rider in front of him.
He could. The question is, where is Cameron Peterson fast? Because he knows he's got limitations into turn number 1. Just a quick note for you Aiden Sneed fans on the MV Augusta. from pit lane, he was able to get his way. He's at 13th place.
Yeah, he would be right in that battle between 6th through 11th. I mean, unfortunately, it's going to be hard for Aiden to go any further forward at 7.1 back, but he'd be right in that battle of that group from 6th to 12th, let's say, because Torrin Collins is just off the back of that big battle himself.
Good job by Cameron Peterson to adjust his brake marker, get on it a little bit early as he tries to sort out on board what's going on in terms of what are the limitations for him into turn number 1. He's got the rest of the track, but how about the performance of this guy?
Yep, can't fault him. I mean, he's just gone.
It's just incredible. Like, yeah, he's backed it down to 27.9, which is fine.
That's traffic, though.
Yeah,
that's going to be back
for him
for sure.
Still with a 4.2 second lead with 4.5 laps to go for Matthew Skoltz.
I mean, he's already pulled another half second on PJ in that first sector. So you're going to see this guy just jump right back into the 26s. When you get into a rhythm, you don't want to really break that rhythm too much, Greg. And you get to the spot where you start counting down the laps. He's going to come through on his board this time. We saw it up to 5-something seconds. It was 4.2 the last time by. So that tells me that that was traffic that actually got probably in Matthew's way. Here's PJ Jacobson still charging. Still trying to make up that time, but look, Greg, half second in the first, half second in the second. He's going to have another full second on PJ just on this lap as he jumps back into the 26.7. Look at PJ using the body English, Greg. That's a combination of body English and throttle modulation as he continues to try to pour the power on out of this Ducati, this Rahal Ducati, to get the bike going the direction he wants, and that's what he's trying to do there.
Yeah, that's just all natural talent for him. He's not even really paying attention to what's going on, but just 1 second the difference between Skoltz and Jacobson on that last lap, and Blake Davis now just a little bit quicker than PJ, just by 1/10 of a second. But to Cameron Peterson's credit, he goes 26.9, so only Skoltz and Peterson, who's back in 4th place, are circulating in the 26s.
It's only 0.3 now, right? So Cam has not given up on that battle. You're going to see him coming into the frame right now. The Ducati of Cam Peterson has reeled in Blake Davis on the 22, and you see how Blake kind of stayed over to the right there? There's only maybe a couple, 2 or 3 really good solid passing spots around here at VIR. Blake's going to know that Cam's up behind him. If he can't hear him, he's probably seen that on his pit board. Watch as he comes through this next right. The next turn that they come into, this tight right, will be a spot where you can pass, and Blake's not going to let that happen there. He's nice and tight on his entry, gets the bike slowed down. Now it's a big run down the straight that they're going to be coming onto that front straightaway here in 2 more turns, and we'll see if the 45 has any power to be able to draft by this number 22.
And to see if he's got a short-term memory for his problems into turn number 1, and if he's got it sorted out. So onto the front straightaway we go for the battle for 3rd between Davis Track Racing Yamaha R9 and Cameron Peterson on the Celtic Economy Lube and Tire Warhorse HSBK Ducati. Down into turn 1 they go, where Cam has been great on the brakes. Not going to happen this time. Jamie?
Keep an eye on the skies as this race starts to wind down, Greg. The clouds have continued to move in, and over the last lap and a half or so, the wind, at least on this part of the racetrack where pit lane is, has really picked up. A couple sprinkles in the air as well, so it could come down to weather at the end.
Yeah, it definitely could, but the good news is for this race, Jay, is that we're at that point now where if the skies opened up, the race is going to be complete. So, but if you're aware of that, Jamie brings up a good point. If you're a rider and aware of it, and you've been planning on making a move maybe last lap, now's the time, whether you're the 22 and the 45, or whether you're one of the riders back in that huge group led by Kayla Yakov in 6th place.
Well, the thing that impressed you and I both at Laguna Seca was the racecraft of Blake Davis here at the front. He did such a really good job of holding those guys off. I remember specifically the last lap of the 2nd race when he had both PJ Jacobson and Matthew Skoltz up behind him. So for Cam P that last time by, he drafted by and went to go to the outside of Blake Davis under braking into turn number 1. Now he's going to have to rethink that plan, because Blake Davis is going in, when he goes through that kink rig, he's actually keeping the bike over to the right to kind of make the efforts of Cam P go down the outside of him. So you can see here, very tight down the front straightaway. Cam P's going to the outside of him again. Now he's got to cross back. See how he's crossing back under? Because he knows he's got to be into that spot to go by Blake Davis. And when you do that, the thing is sometimes if you're in the draft, you got to roll out of it a little bit, which isn't going to allow you to get up alongside of the 22. So Blake Davis doing a nice job. This will be another spot that you can dart down the inside of somebody, and even into turn 4. If Cam can come out of here in a good spot like he's trying right now, let's see if he tries to make this pass.
No,
not
so
quite
tight.
close. Yeah, just gets tight in these areas, and you can see when they come through these double rights, They're going to, you see a short shift there. They're now in third. They're going to go up to fourth. Watch Blake keep it over to the right side of the track. See how he keeps it over to the right? That just says, hey, I'm not letting you come down the inside of me, and he gets his bike back over to the spot that he needs for turn 7. So right now, it's just a chess match between these two riders.
The other thing, too, is Blake Davis is a leg dangler, and the last thing you want to do behind is make contact with the leg. So
or you aim for it.
Sure.
Or you aim for it, you know.
Yeah,
so
yeah, I guess.
You know, the thing is, he's again very tight into this spot. He's not going to allow anybody to go through. Matthew Skoltz now coming onto the front straightaway. 1 lap to go for the track racing rider on the R9, who's done such a tremendous job today, Greg, getting away from everybody. Again, 26.9. He's lived in the 26s the whole race long.
Just in a rhythm. And he did a 1:26.282, which was just 0.08 of a second off the best time ever turned here before P.J. Jacobsen set the new track record. So Skoltz just in a commanding deal. And here comes Cameron Peterson around the outside. Not going to get it done.
It's going to have to be a surprise spot. If he can stay close enough here and dart down the inside of him in this next left, he's got to try to pull something down. But Blake again, and then we saw last lap through, he's close out of here. Cam might try a spot here if he can.
Got to run up the inside, side by side. Blake's got to lift for a moment. So there goes Cameron Peterson. He takes over third spot from Blake Davis. Well timed, well calculated, but Davis still has half a lap to retaliate.
He does, but now let's see if Cam goes ahead and moves over to the right as well. Look, Blake's going to try to go down the inside anyways.
Full send, that's off the lever. It gets tight there. He pushes Cam P wide. They both go wide. So Davis back in for third spot.
And now the next spot for Cam P is going to go through this left. The bike's going to get very loose out of this right-hander for both riders. We're probably just going to feel a little bit of wheel spin. But see Blake nice and tight again as Matthews in the last corner. Look how tight Blake went in there. He's going to control that apex speed on his run down to the finish.
Motovation Supersport Race #1 here at VIR. And the #1 plate gets the #1 spot and will take the win. A great victory for Strack Racing and Matthew Skoltz. In second place goes PJ, and now the battle for third onto the straightaway. A good run by Cameron Peterson, now to the kink, side by side, and it's going to be Cameron Peterson who's able to draft by 0.14 of a second over Blake Davis and take the final spot on the podium. But racing still goes on. Ty Scott, the number 70 Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki, is able to get around Yakov, the 19, and there's Corey Alexander. So a couple of Ray Hall Ducatis trying to chase down the Suzuki GSX-R 750. And sixth place we go to Ty Scott with Josh Hayes up the road in fifth place. So it's Scott, Yakov, Alexander, Jake Lewis, Max Van, and Bazooka Joe Lamandry in 11th place.
Here we go from a drone image you're going to see here. That is the difference between Cam Peterson and Blake Davis. What a run to the line for Cam. What a last lap, an entertaining last lap between these two.
Look at their lean angle too, and sometimes that's the thing at the kink. If you can get a little bit more lean angle, it jumps your RPM slightly, and sometimes it gives you a boost. So congratulations to Matthew Skoltz celebrating with his fans here at Virginia International Raceway.
That's really good to see, and you know we always get great crowds here at VIR, and they've come out again, so thanks to all our fans. Look at the consistency in the lap times, Greg. Just 26s all the way through. How about even on lap 15, Greg? Last lap still in the 26s, with a 26.2 being his best time.
I'll tell you what, it's for a first-year effort, Yamaha has built an incredible motorcycle in the YZF R9. And the teams that are racing this machine have done an awesome job. Obviously, Strack Racing kind of leading the way. BPR as well, with Josh Hayes finishing in fifth. You have Altus Motorsports doing a great job. Good to see Jake Lewis in the top 10. When we come back, we're going to talk to Matthew Skoltz about what an awesome race that was for him and his team.
Great performance by Matthew Skoltz to take the race win here in the Supersport class. PJ Jacobsen second, so they'll trade places in the championship standings. Matthew Skoltz now holding that advantage. But when we look at Cam Peterson in that battle for the final step of the podium, Rog, between himself and Blake Davis, we saw Peterson have his problems, drop down the order a little bit, but recovered well to get back onto the podium.
Yeah, and for Cam, he just never gave up that whole last lap. Every time they were trying to go back and forth, this place can be tough to pass as the race starts to wind down, but Cam Peterson just played it perfectly. That last corner, got a great job and set himself up to be in the right spot through the kink.
You need to keep a cool head to do that as well. He was able to do that. And after making the mistakes earlier in the race, it would have been easy just to almost settle for the 4th place and those safe points, but wants to get back onto the podium just like last time out.
And Matt, this is kind of what we've seen all weekend. He's had the pace, just so fast, the consistency inside those 26s. And that's what he did in the race. When the race came, he was able to do exactly what he's been able to do in practice and qualifying.
Yeah, so many laps within a quarter of a second of his fastest lap of the race. So really impressive to see that consistency from him. He's been the pace setter all the way through the weekend. He's had that pressure of knowing that with the number 1 plate, you're expected to lead the championship, you're expected to win races, and now he's back in that championship lead.
And the pressure also when you're quick all weekend and you know you have the pace to win and you're expected to win, that also adds a little bit more pressure going into the race, but he's able to handle it.
What about for PJ Jacobson as well? Gives up the championship lead, but more than anything, beaten by 5 seconds here by Scholes.
Yeah, but still get the points. That's definitely going to be disappointing with that, losing the lead and getting second. But I think if PJ can get a better start, I bet he feels like he can go with Matt.
Let's get it back to Greg, JP, and Jamie to bring us through to a close here in the Supersport class where Matthew Scholes picks up the race win and retakes the championship lead.
Welcome back to Virginia International Raceway celebration from Strack Racing owner and AI genius. We're going to talk more about that maybe some later, but good race by Matthew Scholes. What a performance. The consistency is something to look at, and really just great run from him. PJ Jacobson now 4.9 seconds back on that number yellow motorcycle. The 19 or the 15. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. So Scholes with the big victory, 4.9 over PJ Jacobson. 12.6 over Cameron Peterson. What a race. This is what VIR can do. I mean, we've seen it time and time again over the years that AMA Racing has been here. Hayes in 5th place. Ty Scott in 6th. He was hanging back there, and you can see 35.5, 35.6, 36.0 for Corey. What a run. Great to see Jake Lewis. Injured, but still top 10 for him. And talking to Jake Lewis, he was like, I do not want to wait all the way to Mid-Ohio to come back. I don't want to be a month and a half off the bike. And he's able to bring it home in 9th place as he continues to heal, just ahead of Max Van. So, Motovation Supersport Race number 1 was so interesting behind this guy who was able to take the big dub. Let's get down to Jamie.
For Matthew Scholes, his 5th win of the season and best pace that you've had so far this weekend. What message are you trying to send with the dominance you've had on the racetrack?
I just feel that when I'm able to get out by myself and do my own laps, that consistency over 18 laps or whatever it is, I've got the pace, to run up front and win. Just whenever I'm battling with a couple guys, I just need to get a little bit better, running through the corners, using the brakes better. But overall, thank you to the Strack Racing team. This R9's working beautifully. This is the kind of track that I like coming to. I've got very fond memories here on the Superbike, and it's carrying on riding the R9 in the Supersport class. So thank you to my family. My neighbors are there watching me. Yeah, thank you, guys.
Getting a little choked up. This one matters. Greg?
Very emotional. This racing, of course it is. But, at this point of the season, too, to take over that championship points lead,
huge. Yeah, a lot of momentum right now on the number 1 side, and it's always great when you have people that have either not been to your races before or have come again. So back down to Jamie for 2nd place.
For PJ Jacobson, it's a new lap record here in the first race of the weekend, but at the end of the race, ultimately, you didn't have the pace to close up that gap and get any closer to Matthew Scholes. What can you do tomorrow to get even tighter?
Yeah, first I just want to thank my whole Rahal Ducati Moto team. Everybody on the team has been doing such a great job, and they gave me a great bike. So I just want to thank them, and this whole program it's been going really good. So I just want to thank them. They deserve this. Obviously it's not a win, but I just want to thank them, and yeah, hopefully we can make a better result tomorrow. But it's great, and super proud of the team.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and for PJ, that's what it's all about. And there's still a lot of racing remaining in this 2025 season. And so it's so close up top.
He ain't out of this. No, there's no way he's out of this. And just a little early contact at the beginning. I think PJ will go back and review it and kind of wish he got a better start.
Jamie.
He got the start that he wanted, Cameron Peterson did, and the battle at the end, it was less than 0.02 of a second between yourself and Blake Davis. Take us through those last couple of corners and how you were able to use that draft.
Yeah, tough race. Matty had incredible pace in the beginning, and yeah, I just tried to stick with him and ended up making a mistake going to turn one. And then, yeah, PJ got me, sat behind PJ for a little bit and felt like I had some good pace. And then again, just a stupid mistake running off in one, and made it pretty hard for myself, but put my head down and was able to catch Blake. And yeah, Blake's a tough guy to pass. He's so good on the brakes, and you know, I was really good through the last sector all weekend, so I figured that might have been my best chance, and yeah, just timed it to perfection. But congrats to the two guys in front of me. They're riding incredible, and I just got to be better. But thank you to all the fans. Thank you all to these people coming out. Awesome to be back in Virginia. Absolutely love this place, so I look forward to tomorrow.
Another great podium result for Cameron Peterson, Greg.
And look, Greg, it's super easy to make that mistake down into turn one, and these guys are pushing so hard, and there'll be some things that I'm sure Cam will look over this evening with his team to see if he can make the bike a little better in certain spots. But this guy's just setting a pace right now that's very difficult to match.
So as Matthew Schultz gets ready to celebrate his 14th career Supersport race win, our coverage from VIR will continue after this.
And for Rog, when you look at the Supersport class going into tomorrow's race, how are they going to be able to find that time if you're PJ Jacobson trying to chase down the 5 seconds against Schultz?
I think you just kind of try to maybe rewatch the race again and see where you're losing. Look at the split times and see, you know, early on in that race, it was that second sector where Matt was a half a second quicker than the leaders, and then toward the end of the race, it was that first sector. So just trying to work with your crew and figure out a little bit here and there, but Matt's going to go to work too with his crew tonight and try to be even stronger tomorrow.
And then obviously for Cam Peterson as well, good to be able to get onto the podium after that issue earlier in the race. But more than anything, he's shown into this race weekend as well, just like at Laguna, he's going to be a contender all the way through again.
Yeah, and I think also for PJ, the first lap, he got into it with Blake there in turn 3, and they really lost a lot of spots, and that opened up the race for Matt right away, and he was able to get into his rhythm. But KMP, I think it looks like he's starting to build some confidence and some momentum, and he's able to back these good results up, and he knows what he needs to do, and he got a good start today and put himself where he needed to be coming out of turn 1.
Yeah, once you have that bit of momentum behind you and you're able to have that issue but still have the confidence to come back at it, really does show that he's starting to be back on form. And obviously that was the expectation coming into this season, given what we've seen from him in the past in other classes.
And this is a great opportunity for Cam, and going to a bike that's won races, and for him, he's just such a good rider. And he just had some bad luck the last couple years and early on in the year, and gets that behind him. Yeah,
good rider out of luck at times, and certainly for Peterson, good to see him back up there on the podium, backing up what he did last time out at Laguna. 2-3 the last 2 races for him, and that scrap with Blake Davis to the flag really was a great battle to go right down to the wire. And we'll go back to Greg and JP to bring the Supersport class to a close here at VIR.
Motovation Supersport is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. By NXT Bets, play MotoAmerica for cash. Multiple race classes live on top sports books and DFS platforms all season long. And by Motovation, the most trusted online resource for premium motorcycle parts and accessories delivered right to your door. Find your motivation at motivationusa.com.
Highlights from race number 1, Motovation Supersport here at VIR.
Let's go, Greg. As we see here, Matthew Schultz darted down the inside of Blake Davis. Now, that was going to be interesting because PJ saw that, wanted to make the same move. Him and Blake got together down in turn 3. That allowed Cam Peterson through. You see Josh Hayes early, very competitive on the number 4. Good to see that. And then it was going to be PJ going past Josh down the front straightaway on the inside, only to have Blake Davis outbreak Josh down the outside. Josh would go on to do very well, finish 5th in this race. The battle, though, was between Cam Peterson and PJ Jacobson. You heard Cam say he made a couple mistakes down into turn 1. That was the first one. This was the second one, or third one, actually, and the most costly. He couldn't get the bike turned off out into the grass, but he wasn't done with trying to get back on that podium as the 45 put a fight together to chase down the 22. And as Matthew Schultz came across the line for his win, a little bit further back, Jacobson went up underneath Blake Davis there on the 22 and on turn 4. Matthew wins the race. It's going to be PJ second, and it was a close run all the way to the line, where Cam Peterson would get Blake Davis for third.
Yeah, that run off the racetrack potentially would have cost him 4 points for Cameron Peterson in the championship, but at the end of the day, still a podium appearance. But for this guy, that 14th win of his Motovation Supersport career, and he is so dangerous when he gets out front. We got more coming at you from VIR after this.
And Rog, obviously outside of the podium battles, we also had good fight going on with the likes of Ty Scott. Did a good job to come back through to finish inside the top 5 in that one.
Yeah, and great job for Ty to be able to pick up those points. You know, we got quite a bit of work to do overnight, but for Ty, just consistently inside that top 5, and you know, there's just a little bit of something that he's missing.
Yeah, and then for Kayla Yakov as well, involved in that scrap at the end of the race. Important to be able to just make sure you're able to consolidate what you're doing in the championship. 6th in the championship coming into this one, and always in that fight for a top 5 in race 1 and chance to kick on in race 2.
Yeah, and just getting better every weekend, and her pace was good today. She was able to make it past a couple guys, and then Corey Alexander had a good ride as well. He's had a lot of issues the last couple races. So it was great to see him to come out and have a good, clean race.
Big issue last time out for Jake Lewis. Was good to see, as Greg said, that he didn't miss out on racing this weekend. He's able to come away with a top 10 finish.
Yeah, and that's big, especially just getting the points. And that was a big crash he had at Laguna. Didn't even know if he was going to be able to ride this weekend. And we've talked all week about how physical demanding this track is and how tough VIR is. Man, you do not want to come into this place nursing an injury, especially a shoulder. It's really tough.
We were able to see during that race as well just how tough it is to overtake around here. It makes the qualifying session and the grid positions even more important, and trying to hold on to that track position. Ultimately, at the end of the race, Blake Davis had the track position. Cam Peterson was just able to drag him to the line. Again, gives another good illustration of the challenge facing everyone here at this track.
Yeah, and Cam has just used his experience there, knew where he was strong, and Blake did everything he could leading out of the last corner. I'm sure he thought he had it pretty much covered, but Cam just was right there at the right spot.
Yeah, bit of fortune on Cam's side, but able to come through with that podium finish in a great, well-judged race for the top 3.
Welcome back to Virginia International Raceway, as Motovation Supersport race number 1 is done and dusted. Fans here is, boy, what a race this was. But how about this championship standings? This is what we all wanted to see. So now with Skultz with 217 points and 2 points between himself and PJ Jacobson, with Blake Davis 47 drift, Cameron Pete 88 back. But boy, we got ourselves just a hot and heavy championship, just like we did last year.
Yeah, we really do. And we got some great tracks after Virginia coming up through Mid-Ohio. We saw some crazy stuff between these two at Mid-Ohio last year. We got to go to Dakota. We go to Jersey. 2 points, Greg, in it now. Now PJ's the guy that's got to continue to take the fight to Matthew.
So the good news is that we got race 2 tomorrow in Motovation Supersport. I have an idea that PJ Jacobson and his team are going to look at the Panigale V2 and see if they can get a little bit more sustained traction out of the rear end of that motorcycle. And hopefully the battle will ensue tomorrow and we'll have a closer race. What a great race that was. Motovation Supersport race number 1 did not disappoint. A championship lead change. What's going to happen tomorrow? You definitely want to hang out and check it out. For Jason Pridmore and Jamie Howe, Greg White. See you tomorrow.